Conversations with Chinenye. Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Conversations with Chinenye. And once again, I have an amazing guest, a young Nigerian, someone who I've actually watched from, I guess when I was younger, because he's actually been in this space for 17 years. I have with me the one and only Samson Itodo. Hello, Samson.
Thanks for having me. You make me feel like an old man, but I'm not.
No, it's really, really good to have you. And I know you're a very humble person, but you're one of the few Nigerians, I think, that have stood the cause. And, I was amazed when you told me that you started your organization when you were in university. How many people in university these days are starting movements that become not only a Nigerian movement, but a Pan-African movement? So tell me, what inspired you? What gave you the confidence?
Quite an interesting question, but thanks for having me, inviting me to Conversations with Chinenye. I think there are a lot of young people who started organizations while they were in universities and have grown, to become masterpieces and models of organizing, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. So it's a privilege to be amongst one of those, because the whole Yaga Africa ideology of movement, is driven by a conviction that we had as young people while we're in the university. And we just wanted, change and social change. We wanted things to be done differently. We were very concerned about a Nigeria that was working for a few and not for all. We were also concerned with the fact that elected student leaders who were advocating and defending the rights of citizens, especially students, were now faced with intimidation from a school authority and just simply, student union leaders were advocating for just welfare of students. And we didn't just understand why the response of the school authority was to clamp down on the rights of the students and even excommunicate those student union leaders. And we thought it was just an anomaly, because if the hostel and the living conditions of students in our tertiary institution were so appalling that student union leaders were speaking up, I think the best response is the school authority should fix the problem, fix the toilets in the universities.
Okay, so
hostels.
If I want to understand, are you saying that the movement or the organization started out as a student
Absolutely,
union?
yes.
Oh,
yes.
I see.
We started in 2007 as a student-led organization in the University of Jos.
Okay.
And it was just a group of us who were just tired of the way the school was being run.
Wow.
We were tired with the way political leadership wasn't delivering. And we just wanted to make our time in school count, but also make our numbers count. And that's where we started from, fostering conversation, because it begins with having a conversation and helping people understand the way things actually work shouldn't be the case.
So I just want to unpack this a little bit. Just help me understand the mindset. Now, we live in a country where a lot of people are feeling hopeless, especially young people. They don't see a future. So how did you feel, or is it that Nigeria was different then? How did you feel that, you could make a difference and you could actually, because a lot of people in university are chasing women, partying, womanizing, all sorts of things. How do you have that tunnel vision to be able to say, what, we're going to make our voice count, we're going to make a change, and then actually believe that you're going to make a change?
I think something and perhaps you've heard, and a lot of Nigerians, especially young people, relate to, this story our parents tell us about how life was when they were in the universities. That there was a time in Nigeria, to be specific, when as soon as you're graduating from universities, There are companies, banks who are waiting, to recruit you to work for them. In this same country, there were times when, our student hostels were well equipped with towels, with,
Wow.
soaps.
There was a
And this kind of treatment you receive in hotels today when you lodge in a hotel, were the same kind of treatments that students were receiving in universities. And I'm sure your parents would have told you about those stories. They told you those good old days. Now, what went wrong? That today, our hostels in our universities are, death traps. And we call them an ISO. They are just places where even rats cannot live in. How did we get to a point where students would graduate from university and they have to pay through their nose, and their parents have to pay through their nose to do what? To secure jobs. How do you explain where we have a situation in Nigeria where people have to pay their way? You pay to secure admission, you pay to do what? To buy books or handouts. You pay to even pass exams, because we have situations where you have lecturers who deliberately fail students because they fail to compromise. And young women have been
absolutely
victims of this. Or when you come out of the university, you need a letter from a legislator or from someone who is highly placed before you are considered for a recruitment. But even after you secure that letter, you still have to pay. And the public space is replete with stories and testimonies of people who have to pay before they secure employment. And so the situation is not just annoying, but it's disappointing. And it's quite tough. It's tough to live, in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's tough to be in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And so what is the state actually doing for its citizens? And this is the point being made, that Nigerians have a right to feel disenchanted. Nigerians have a right to feel disappointed. Nigerians have a right to feel hopeless. They do have a right, and we need to acknowledge that fact, because compared to other nations, our situation is very worse. Especially when we are a country that is so endowed.
Has a lot of potential.
Nigeria shouldn't be here. We don't even have any reason whatsoever to be importing as low as toothpick. We shouldn't, because we have what it takes in this country.
So I want to ask a
that
question.
point about leadership.
Thank you. That's where I'm coming to, because you asked that question and I want to really spotlight it. And the question is, what went wrong? At what point did we lose course or lose focus? Who do we blame this decay? Who do we blame? And because why I want us to look at some of these root causes is because I want us to really end this conversation on a, not a high note, but on basically recommendations as how do we think we can improve the situation. But really fundamentally, can you tell me one or two things, or three things you think that went fundamentally wrong?
I think a couple of things went wrong. The first one was the fact that rather than pursue a national purpose, we started pursuing personal and parochial interest. Because when the Civil War ended, we didn't, as a country, implement a national reconciliation project that sought to deepen national unity and integration. It was then about a particular section of the country who see control of state power as their own pathway towards progress. And they didn't care about development in other regions. So we got it wrong there. Not being able to identify a national purpose, a national vision, was where we actually lost it. The second place where we actually went wrong, was the fact that leaders who led the struggle for reclaiming the state from military dictators decided to shy away from politics. And they left the political space open to rulers and not leaders to get into power. And you had a lot of political jobbers. In 1998, 1999, the entire floodgates were open. And you had every Tom, Dick, and Harry, including people who didn't have the capacity, the competence, and the character to go into public office, went into public office. And since then, they've perpetuated themselves in office. And now those who led the struggle, you know, who had conscience, who had a sense of what democracy stands for, who had a sense of equity and justice, decided to leave the scene. And of course, in politics, once you leave the scene, rest assured that people who have a different set of values will take over the space. And all we've been doing in the last 20-something years to reclaim our democracy, you know, dates back to the fact that those who led the struggle for our democracy decided at that particular time to stay away from politics because they saw politics as a dirty game, and they forgot that politics itself is not dirty. What is dirty is the players who have decided, you know, to change and alter the course of the history.
Before you get to the third point, I just want to hold that thought, right? So you say that the people, the leaders, the people who were supposed to go into politics decided to stay back.
Yes.
Would you not say that the same thing is happening now as well, where you still have a lot of people who have the potential to be good leaders or have shown exemplary leadership, but they shy away from politics because they believe politics is dirty or is, you know, it is too expensive for some people who have legitimate means. So do you think it's like the inaction of people, you know, to get involved? That's why we're where we are as a country.
No, I think the issue, the third reason I was actually going to highlight was, you know, the failure of citizenship and active citizenship, and which ties to your other question. You think it's easy to be a politician or to, well, not to be a politician, but it's public leadership in its sense. It's a very cumbersome and complex endeavor, especially in a country like Nigeria. But we've seen leaders who have succeeded in this country at different levels. So I don't think that it is impossible to have quality leaders, to have leaders who are transparent, you know, and leaders who can actually deliver the promise of democracy. It's not impossible. There are nations who have gone through the same experiences.
Absolutely.
But I think the part that people actually shy away from politics accounts for one of the reasons. But we shouldn't blame people when they shy away. Because if you've run for office before, you know that it's not just difficult, but it's actually a humongous battle. Politics in this country is war because of the mindset of the politicians. So what we have across is just politicians who first are interested in political power, not to solve our governance challenges, not to solve our problems, but they see politics and running for office as an escape route out of poverty. Any nation that holds that kind of mentality is doomed. Because you're going to just flood, you know, your leadership spaces with business and you know, unscrupulous politicians, as opposed to people who are serving the interests of people. And today, the public interest is not the driving philosophy of political leadership. It's about how do we plunder the state to do what? To accumulate wealth and use that to oppress people or oppress other people who are in our social class. And so the public good isn't at the forefront of public leadership. And this is why you continue to have insecurity, because you have leaders that don't care about our collective good. As long as they are secured, as long as their family members are secured, then it's fine. That's why you have leaders, you know, who will continue to steal public funds, and then use the same funds to run elections because they want to be back in office.
Yeah.
That's how you have leaders who will do nothing but appoint people who do not have the competence because they want to do what? To subjugate and hold institutions hostage. That's why you have people who continue to capture institutions and make them so powerless that they cannot perform their function. Why? Because you have a political system that tolerates bad behavior. And this is where citizens actually have a role to play. Now, one, to sit back and not engage makes the situation worse. It doesn't make it any better. And there are three things. One, as a citizen of the country, if you have what it takes to lead, put yourself forward and proffer solutions that will help fix our country. If you have all that knowledge and all that expertise and you keep them for yourself, what's life if you don't commit yourself to something greater than you? And so you need to deploy that to do what? To fixing the problems in your country. And that's why nationalism, it's actually a tool for driving development. People, Nigerians, need to take special interest in how their society is governed. Because any decision that a politician makes and our leaders make, it affects us all. And sometimes you might think, okay, it doesn't affect your immediate family. But remember, no man, no woman is an island. Your family members, your children, will go to school. They will interact with other people. But even the journey from your house to school, they are going to ply on roads.
True.
If those roads are not safe, if those roads are not fixed, they're going to encounter challenge. So one way or the other, the decisions, the political choices that we make have implications for the quality of our livelihood. That's why we must get involved if you want to run for office. But also voting at elections. We have one of the poorest and the lowest turnout for elections. And it says a lot, about our attitude towards elections and politics. If you don't come out to vote at elections, you're actually enabling the emergence of bad leaders into public office. Because if you want a leader who you believe has what it takes to govern effectively, then your duty is to ensure that leader emerges. And the only way that leader will emerge is if you show up to vote at elections. If you join political parties to vote during party primaries for leaders of your choice, but also not selling your votes and also yielding to the shenanigans of politicians. And there's a reason why politicians spend a fortune just to get into office, because they know using the apparatus of state, using the networks and the access it provides, they can leverage that, to do what? Appropriate monies and also siphon public funds. So I think at the heart of this is the fact that we are the only solution to our problems.
Absolutely.
And the only way to get out of this is for citizens to keep asking the difficult question, because democracy thrives on questions. And so we need to keep asking those questions at the right time and directed at the right institution or leaders.
So just tell me a little bit about what the journey has been like, because I know that, I myself, I consider myself a change agent, and I know that the journey is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. How has the journey been? And if you don't mind sharing, maybe one or two experiences you've had, maybe that you felt discouraged, and how did you pull through from that?
Trust me, in 17 years of doing this work, I've had both high, low, and very difficult and tough moments. And often you think that, well, it looks like, all hope is lost. And I've had experiences that, that break me. I'm human. I have emotions. And sometimes you also feel very discouraged. And trust me, Nigeria breaks you.
Nigeria breaks you.
It breaks you.
Tell me about it.
But one thing that keeps me going is the fact that I just believe, that in these 2 decades, I have also seen incremental growth that have come as a result of active citizenship. I've seen how citizens have held political leaders to ransom.
Absolutely.
And forced them to take decisions, that advances public interest. Those give me hope. And it just tells me if we do a lot more, right, we can actually get to our desired destination. But we just need to build a critical mass of citizens who believe that using their power, they can get the change that they want. And I say it is possible. If it can happen in Senegal,
absolutely.
If it can happen, even in Nigeria, if it can happen in Liberia, it can happen in your local government, it can happen in your state, it can happen even at the federal level. And I totally believe that. And so the journey has been tortuous. There are times when you put in a lot of effort supporting institutions just to deliver on their mandates, and they decide, and they fail. Sometimes it's quite discouraging. And I've had several experiences.
I remember you've been arrested. Can you share? I just want to know a little
maybe
bit
I
more.
share the most recent one where, we spoke about the former president, Buhari had appointed, people into INEC. And, some of those people didn't meet the constitutional test because, it talks about non-partisanship and people of impeccable character. And civil society actually opposed some of those nominations because we're defending the Constitution. And defending the Constitution comes with a price. And today, there have been several cases that were instituted.
So cases instituted against you?
Yeah, the civil and criminal cases instituted against me for, for speaking up in defense of the Constitution. And then you look back and you ask yourself, well, you're standing for, what is right. But hey, that is the public space. That's how the public space works. The day you decide to speak up, to challenge and speak truth to power, it comes with what? It comes with a lot of sacrifice. And we need to get to a point where we are willing to make those sacrifices. And for me as an individual, there's absolutely no difficulty. There's no level of intimidation that will stop or discourage or, break our spirit as active citizens in holding institutions to account. I think the more we get this response from the state, the more we are emboldened to continue to defend democracy, to continue to defend our Constitution, because we have a right as citizens to do so. So there have been several cases, but honestly, I just see those as moments of reflection, but also moments of strength. Because the more these things happen, because honestly, when you think about change, you don't have all the powers to make change happen. It is contingent on several factors, and those factors are external, that you don't have control over them. And so you just need to also be mindful of that. But I tell you, despite all the discouraging moments, this country still inspires me.
Wow.
It inspires me because young people recently, just how many years ago, changed their constitution from the streets using their phones. And today you have young people between 25 and 29 who are running for office and have won their elections, due to the Not Too Young to Run legislation. We've also seen, young people who have exposed corruption, and have gotten people to jail on that account. We've seen young people and citizens who have spoken out and have forced the government to actually take decisions, in their favor. Even the current administration, they've rescinded some of their decisions in recent times due to public pressure. And Nigerians need to know that democracy thrives on public pressure. That it's about compromise, it's about speaking out, it's about engaging. And don't let any politician, any leader, any institution to shut you up, because your voice is the greatest power that you have in a democracy. The moment you lose your voice, democracy begins to die. And this is why, you know, Martin Luther will say that our lives begin to end the day we do what? We remain silent when evil prevails in our society. So we have to be courageous as a people to continue to act. There's a reason why our political leaders don't want people to speak, because they know that a constellation of voices is what makes institutions to shift in public interest.
Conversations with Chinenye.